Hello, my little mathematicians. Today we're going to talk about nets. Nets are what help us make 3D figures. So if you were to take a look at like a regular flat box, like that would, or flat 2D figure, that would just be that front face right there. But then a 3D shape is like the whole soda box, or like that's what it looks like, drawn on a piece of paper. And then here's some examples of like 3D figures. This is a rectangular prism like that box. But then there's also so many different types. There's both prisms, like this rectangular prism, or this rectangular prism, but this is a specific type of rectangular prism. What's this one called? Yeah, a cube, because all the faces are squares. And then this is another, what? 3D figure. Do you know what kind of figure this is? Is it a prism or a pyramid? Yeah, this is a prism. How do you know that? Because it has two identical bases. Okay, so right here, this base and this base are parallel to each other. They don't intersect. And it's separated by rectangles. Okay, so prisms have rectangular sides. How many rectangular sides? Well, it depends. How many sides does your base shape have? This is a triangular prism because your base shape is a triangle. And since it has three sides, then it has 1, 2, 3 rectangles coming off of it. And then let's go back to our rectangular prism. How many sides do you think are going to come off of this guy? Well, my base shape is a rectangle and it has 4 sides. So there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 sides coming off of my 2 bases. Okay, so those are prisms. And I mean, those are the ones we're going to be dealing with. Of course, there's other types of prisms like, hexagonal, octagonal, or pentagonal prisms, but we're not going to be dealing with those, okay? But just note, like, they're out there. What we are going to be dealing with are prisms versus pyramids. Now, how do you tell the difference between a pyramid and a prism? If it's drawn like this, it's kind of easy to tell. The pyramid is the one that comes to a point at the top. Okay, see how this comes to a tippy top point? And then it only has one base, and your base is directly across from that. Okay, so like right here. These are pyramids. Now, I told you that the prisms have what type of sides? Yeah, they have rectangular sides, right? So here are the sides, they form rectangles because the lines going up from one base to the other go straight up like this and form a rectangle in the center. Whether your base be a rectangle or even a triangle base, your sides are still rectangles, right? But if you have a pyramid, what type of shape do those sides make? Yeah, triangles. Because in order to make this top shape, like it folds to a point up there. And so then to meet up to this point, it forms a triangle. So pyramids have triangular sides. How many sides? Well, it depends upon how many sides your base shape has. So this is a what type of pyramid? It's a square pyramid because that's what my base is. This one is a what type of pyramid? Pyramid, it comes to a point. It's a triangular pyramid because my base shape is a triangle. This has 3 sides for my base, so it's going to have 1, 2, 3 triangles coming off of it. But this one has 4 sides for my base, so it's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles coming off of it. Okay? Now, if I were to take any of these shapes, and like cut them open and unfold them, they would make what's called a net. Okay? So a net is a 2-dimensional drawing of these 3D figures that I just showed you. Okay? And then when we draw out these nets, you can kind of think of them, don't they just look like simple composite figures? So we just find the area of each of those different surfaces of that net, and then we found the area of that whole 3D figure. Okay, so remember, these nets, a net's different than a normal composite figure because when these get folded up, a net creates one of those 3D objects I just showed you. Okay, now there are many different types of nets. Like this one, if you were to imagine this being kind of unfolded, if you were to like cut here, and then unfold the box, maybe one way is like if I had that front face and then, I just like cut that one down and then it came off. And then you have the back, which is identical to it. Okay, and then I folded that right side, but there's this left side that you can't even see. So that's identical here. And then don't forget the top and the bottom would also come off from there. So there's your top and bottom. Okay, and that would be a net. Now, is that the only way I could have unfolded it? No, there's so many other possibilities that I could have drawn for this. But what you need to note is that it has two identical bases, and then since your base shape has four sides, it has four sides coming off of it. Okay, so it's a total of six faces. The one main thing to note is like you have the correct amount of faces, but then also you want your bases to kind of be on opposite sides or like parallel to each other. So I could have said those were my bases, or if you turned it sideways, maybe I could have had this guy and this guy as my two bases if I took the box and rotated it. As long as they're the parallel ones and don't touch. If you're to unfold your net and say that they were both, your bases were on the same side over here, that's when it wouldn't actually work. So kind of imagine if it folds, like would it cover all the sides, or would one side be left uncovered and one side covered twice? For the most part right now, let's go ahead and just try to identify these. So what did I say about prisms and pyramids? What type of sides do prisms have? So here are some prisms. Okay. What type of sides do all of those have? Yeah, they have rectangular sides, right? Okay. And they have two identical bases that are parallel. So these two bases are parallel to each other, those two bases are parallel to each other, and those two bases are parallel to each other. And then it's surrounded by rectangular sides. Versus a pyramid has only one base and then triangles coming off of it. So to me, a pyramid is one of the easiest nets to identify. Why? Because what they tend to do is they put that base in the center and then they just have triangles coming off of that base shape. So out of those options, can you guys identify which one might be a pyramid? Do you think 1, 2, 3? Yes, 4 is a pyramid, okay, because it has that base in the middle. And then what is that base shape? Yeah, it's a triangle. So this is called a triangular pyramid. And notice how it has 3 sides. So there's 1, 2, 3 sides coming off of that base. Okay, is there another pyramid on here? You guessed it, number 5. What type of pyramid is that? We'll look at that base shape. What's that base shape? If you said rectangle, like, yeah, I would totally take rectangular pyramid. In fact, I like that better. The key here says square pyramid, but I mean, technically they didn't tell me that all these sides are congruent, but yeah, square pyramid or rectangular pyramid, I'd accept. Okay, here, this one is very obvious. What's that? Okay, it's a pyramid because it only has one base in the center with triangular sides coming off. And what is that base shape? Yes, a rectangle. So that is a rectangular pyramid. And going back to this one, in order for me to call it a square pyramid, I hope they would have like told me that all the sides are equal. Or if these are all equilateral triangles, then that would make all these sides equal because all the bases would be the same. Okay, so if these are the only pyramids, that means these are the prisms. Okay, so my second name is prism. And then what's the first name? Well, the first name is according to the base, right? And the base are the two sides that are parallel to each other. So you have this guy and this guy. And what are those? Those are rectangles. So we could say a rectangular prism. If they were to say that they were all the same, fine. This particular one I would call a cube because that's when all the faces are the same size. A cube is a particular type of rectangular prism where all the sides are the same. For this guy, what is this? Yeah, well, it has 1, 2 bases, so it's a prism, and it has rectangular sides. How many rectangular sides? Well, since my base shape has 4 sides, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 coming off of it. So this is a rectangular prism. And then here, what type of prism is this? Well, what's your 2 parallel bases? Those are the triangles. If it's a prism, anything that's not a rectangle has to be the base, right? So that would be the 2 triangles. And then this one only has 3 rectangles because my base shape has 3 sides. So 1, 2, 3 rectangles coming off. All right. Let's go ahead and on the back, let's see if not only you can identify them, but if you can also label like the different sides measurements. Okay. So if you were given this shape right here, what's that called? Yeah, this one's a cube because they told me all the sides are equal. So that's a cube. And if I unfold this, this side right here is 7 feet. And then this is 7, this is 7, this is 7, this is 7, right? And then they actually told me like the base is 7 and the height here would be 7. Okay, so in reality, all of them are 7. So if I were to draw a sketch, like this is one, and then they're like, well, what's one that wouldn't work? Well, what if I added on another box? Okay, now there's too many, right? Or another thing that doesn't work is, what if I erased a box? Okay, now there's too few. So too few, too many boxes, or, okay, 1, 2, imagine these are drawn perfectly, 3, 4. And if you had the bases on the same side instead of like opposite and parallel to each other, this one wouldn't work either. Okay, bases can't be on the same side. They need to be opposite each other. Otherwise, it won't fold correctly. Okay, for this guy, let's go ahead and label it. So this long edge right here is the 10, right? So this bottom box is a 10 by 2, and this front box would be a 10 by, well, this is the same as this. It's a 10 by 6. So this is 6 feet. And then that means that like this short edge right here is going to be 2 feet. Okay. So this is a 10 by 6. And this is a 2 by 10. And then here's your other 6 by 10. And your other 2 by 10. Leaving this guy, well, this is your other like 6 right here. And then 2. So your 6 by 2, which is 12. And then this 6 by 2. So that's 12. See how you always have like this is the same as this is the same as this, and this is the same as this, because this is representing the front and the back there. And then right here, this 2 by 10, that's that bottom, and that top 10 by 2, because this is the same as this. And then finally on the right here, you have that 6 by 2, so that's up here, and then that's going to be the same as the left. So when are some real world examples when a net might be helpful in real life? Yeah, if you wanted to know like the amount of wrapping paper, that works. So like to cover the box, how much wrapping paper do you need? Anything else? What about if you're wanting to paint something? Like you needed to paint all the different surfaces. Yeah, so like the amount of paint you need to paint something, that would work too. Okay, let's go ahead and look at these last two down here. So for here, let's identify the triangles first. Okay, so it says that you have a height of 6, and then the base. Do we know this base? Okay, well, right here, I know that this is the same as this, right? Okay, so that means that right here, that's your side that connects there, and then this is your 15. So this is 15, and this is 6.5. And then because it's a tent, like they're probably all going to be the same. So this is 6.5, and that's 6.5. And then that's 6.5 as well. Okay. And then it says Rico's asked to shade the bases on the net, and he shades the rectangles. Explain why the rectangles are not the bases. Why are those not the bases? Like, doesn't it look like it sits right here down on a rectangle? So isn't that the base? Well, base has to be opposite and parallel. So see that bottom rectangle down there? There's no opposite rectangle up here that's parallel to and equal to it. So that can't be your base. Basically, these two triangles are your bases. And then they just took that figure and they rotated it this way. So for instance, that's this triangular prism. See how this is a triangular prism? Okay, it has two identical triangles, and then they just rested it on its side like that. Okay, but these are still the bases. I just took the figure and rotated it. Okay, finally, this one says, Delilah says that a pyramid is unique because it has one base. Do you agree or disagree? Yeah, I agree. Okay, in order to be a pyramid, it has one base that's always opposite that tippy top point. And so here, it has one rectangular base. Okay, and then remember, it has triangular faces coming off of it. Perfect. Hopefully this helps you understand a little bit more about nets and how they relate to 3D shapes. You're going to do great on this unit.